Hi, so the lesson I'm going to be teaching is parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines. So some of you may not know what parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines are. Parallel lines are a set of lines that go in the same direction, and no matter how far they're extended, they will never touch. So these lines are parallel because they're not touching and they go in the same direction. And if we extended them on forever this way, then they would never touch. Perpendicular lines are a set of lines that meet and form a 90-degree angle. These lines are perpendicular because they meet and the angle they form is 90 degrees. Skew lines are a set of lines that aren't parallel or touching, so you could think of it basically as they're not friends. So, these lines are skew because you can see they're not touching and they're not going in the same direction, so they can't be parallel. So now that we know this, we can jump into our questions. Number 1. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is skew to line JK? JK is right down here. So our first choice is line EJ. If we look at EJ, we'll see that it's touching JK, and we know that can't be the answer because to be skew, it can't be touching. Choice B is line KL. KL we'll see is also touching line JK, so that can't be the answer. Choice C is line EF. We'll see that EF isn't touching JK, but it's going in the same direction, so it's parallel, not skew. Then we're left with choice D, which is line GL. We'll see that GL isn't touching, and it's not going in the same direction as line JK, so that's why D is the answer to number 1. Number 2. In the three-dimensional shape below, what line is skew to line XZ? So we'll see XZ down here. Our first choice is line UW. We'll see that UW isn't touching XZ, but it's going in the same direction, so that means that they're parallel, not skew. Choice B is line WZ. We'll see that WZ is touching XZ, so that can't be the answer. Choice C is line XY. We'll see that XY is touching XZ, so that can't be the answer either, and then we're left with choice D, which is line VW. VW would be the answer because it's not touching XZ, and it's not going in the same direction, so they're not parallel, so that means that they're skew. So choice D is the answer to number 2. Number 3. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is parallel to line WZ? So, choice A is line VY. VY, we'll see, is right over here. VY would be the answer because if we extend them up this way, then they would never touch. So, choice A is the answer to number 3. Number 4. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is parallel to line WR? WR is the line right down here. So our first choice is line PQ. We'll see that PQ is right up here. It's not touching WR, but it's not going in the same direction, so that can't be the answer. Now, choice B is line QL. We'll see the QL is right up here. It's not touching WR, and it's going in the same direction. So that means that B, line QL, is the answer. Number 5. In the three-dimensional figure below, which line is perpendicular to line UV? So, if you remember, perpendicular lines are lines that meet and form a 90-degree angle. So our first choice is line TU. TU is right here. It may look like it's 90 degrees, but in a hexagon, these angles are not 90 degrees, so that means that A is not the answer. Line QW is choice B, and it's not even touching UV, so that can't be the answer. Choice C is line PV. PV is touching UV, and it forms a 90-degree angle since this shape is a rectangle. So that means that C is the answer to number 5. Number 6. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is perpendicular to line UV? UV is this line right here. So our first choice is line XZ. So we have to look for the line that is touching and forms a 90-degree angle. So the first choice XY is right here, and it's not touching UV, so that can't be the answer. Choice B is line WZ. If we look at WZ, it's not even touching UV, so that can't be the answer. Choice C is line VW. Well, if we look at VW, we'll see that it's touching UV, but it's not forming a right angle since this is not a right triangle. Choice D is line UX. We'll see that UX is the answer because it's touching UV, and it forms a right angle since this is a rectangle. So D is the answer to number 6. Number 7. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is parallel to line ST? So we have to look for the line that's not touching ST and it's going in the same direction, so they would never touch. So choice A is line MQ. If we look at MQ, we'll see that it's not touching ST, but they're not going in the same direction, so eventually they would touch, so that's not the answer. Choice B is line TS. We'll see that TS is touching ST, so that can't be the answer. And then we'll see that C is line ON. We'll see that ON isn't touching ST, and it's going in the same direction. If we were to extend them this far this way, forever, they would never touch. So that means that C is the answer to 7. Number 8. In the three-dimensional figure below, which line is perpendicular to line FG? So, we're looking for the line that meets FG and forms a right angle. So A is line CG. CG meets with FG but does not form a right angle. So that can't be the answer. Choice B is line KL. KL doesn't even touch FG, so that can't be the answer either. Choice C is line FK. It meets with FG and forms a right angle since this is a square. So the answer to number 8 is C, line FK. Number 9. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is parallel to line ST? Our first choice says none of these. So to figure out if that's the answer, we'll have to look at our other 3 choices. Choice B is line RS. RS is right over here. We'll see that it's touching ST, and to be parallel, they can't be touching. Choice C is line QR. We'll see the QR isn't touching ST, and they're going in the same direction. If they were extended forever, then they would never touch. So that means that C is the answer to number 9. Finally, number 10. In the three-dimensional shape below, which line is skew to line UV? UV is right here. Our first choice is line VY. We'll see the VY touches UV, and remember, to be skew, they can't be touching or parallel. And then our next choice is line UV, and that's the same line as the one in the problem, so that can't be the answer. Choice C is line WZ. We'll see the WZ isn't touching UV, and it's not going in the same direction. So that means that WZ is skew to UV. So C is the answer to number 10. So basically, what you have to do is just remember the definitions and you'll be okay. Bye!